Good morning, dear students. On the today's lecture, I am going to start the new concept of the production function. In my earlier lecture, I explained what is the production is all about, what is the short-run production function, and what is the long-run production function. But now, we are talking about the new type of production function is nothing but Cobb Douglas production function. Cobb and Douglas are the two economists, and they studied about the American manufacturing industries, and they came to the conclusion and they showed some example of their research, and this equation shows you the relationship of the inputs and outputs, how much the inputs are involved into the output. With the help of Cobb Douglas production function, you can easily analyze what is the ratio of the inputs in the total output. So today we are going to start what is the concept of Cobb Douglas, and it will be asked for short note. So we will start with the background. During the 1947, the Charles Cobb and Paul Douglas formulated and tested Cobb Douglas production function through the various statistical evidence. Cobb and Douglas. Cobb is the Charles Cobb and second one is the Paul Douglas. That both economists formulate the equation related to the manufacturing company of the USA. मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग कंपन्यांचा त्यांनी अभ्यास केलेला होता आणि त्याच्यावरून ते एका कन्क्लुजनपर्यंत आले ते त्यांनी इथं मांडलेलं आहे. What is the definition? The definition of the Cobb-Douglas is the functional form of the production function is widely used to represent the relationship between output and two inputs. As you know, if you study the production function compulsorily, then you can easily find out the definition of production function is the functional relationship between input and output. Means what is the role of input into the output is showing by Cobb-Douglas production function. So the basic definition of the CD function is that the production is widely used to represent the relationship between input and two outputs. And when they studied about the manufacturing company, they came to the conclusion what is the role of capital and what is the role of labor in the output. When they studied about the manufacturing company in the USA, they came to the conclusion that whenever the company is engaged into the production of the manufacturing goods, then the role of whether the role of labor is active or the capital is active, it is showing by this example. So you have to focus on this example, that is nothing but you can see that the assumption they used for the model, the function they used, the model production was P Lk is equal to B L raised to A and K raised to B. This is the new type of example in front of you. Here P Lk is the L is stand for labor, K is stand for capital inputs. B is positive constant or the productive efficiency. L is showing by here P stand for the total production. It is the monetary value of all the goods produced within a year. Means P is showing the total quantity of the production which you produced in a 1 year. Right? L is stand for labor, K is stand for capital, B is for the total factor productivity is nothing but the efficient coefficient, and alpha and beta are the output elasticity of the labor and capital. These values are the constant, these are the positive constant actually. Okay, this is showing by the equation. Just you have to remember what is the history. Charles Cobb and Paul Douglas formulate the Cobb Douglas production function, where they studied about the manufacturing company of the America, and they came to the conclusion. That conclusion is showing by the equation P L K is equal to B L raised to A and K raised to B. That is the functional relationship between showing between input and output. And the equations explanation of the equation is P stand for the total production, L stand for labor, K stand for capital, B stand for total productivity, alpha and beta stand for positive constant. This is nothing but the diagram is showing x axis showing labor, y axis showing capital, and P is the positive constant. What is the question? The production function estimation. Means why they are formulating this equation? Because in front of every researcher, every businessman, the question is arised between how you can say what is the relationship between input, what is the requirement of the input for the output. So the production function estimation: Washington Pacific, manufacturer and seller, lumber, plywood, veneer, particles board, medium density fiber board, and the laminate beam. The company has estimated the following multiplicative production function for their lumber production in the Pacific Northwest market. Means the Cobb and Douglas studied about the manufacturing company of the Washingtons, where they involved various types of manufacturing companies like who are engaged into plywoods, veneer, practical board, medium density fiber board, laminate beam. This company are estimated the following multiplicative production function: Q is equal to B0, L raised to B1, K raised to B2, and E raised to B3. Here again the explanation is given of that particular equation. Q is the output, B is the positive constant, L is for the labor, K is for the capital, and E is for the energy input, like British thermal unit. Means whenever you require the raw materials like energy, it is involved, it is denoted into the with the help of abbreviation E. So the second equation is Q is equal to B0, L raised to 1, K raised to B, and C raised to 3. Here B is the positive constant, is nothing but the showing the relationship or the requirement of that inputs for the outputs. हे जे तुम्ही B1 B2 म्हणताय ना, दॅट B हा तुमचं काय दाखवतोय, तर तुम्हाला किती इनपुट्सची रिक्वायरमेंट आहे ते तिथं दाखवतोय. ओके, द नेक्स्ट इज here the next slide is showing by the marginal production. What is the marginal production? Marginal product of the labor. If the production function is denoted by x, p, l and k, then the partial derivatives delta p upon delta l is the rate at which the production change with the change in the labor and labor itself. The economics call it marginal production with respect to the labor and the marginal productivity of a labor. सगळ्यात महत्त्वाची प्रॉपर्टी इथं त्यांनी सांगितली मार्जिनल प्रोडक्शन. मार्जिनल प्रोडक्शन म्हणजे काय, तर तुमचं जे काही प्रोडक्शन आहे आणि लेबरची जी काही संख्या आहे ह्यातला जर चेंज लक्षात घेतला, म्हणजे इफ यू आर इन्क्रीजिंग युअर लेबर बाय 10%, देन व्हॉट विल बी द इम्पॅक्ट ऑन द आउटपुट, वेदर इट इज इन्क्रीज बाय 10%, वेदर इट इज डिक्रीज बाय 10%, वेदर इट रिमेन्स कॉन्स्टंट बाय 10%. दॅट इज द रेशो इज शोइंग बाय इट. Next, here some explanation is given. Economists call in the marginal production with the respect to the labor or the marginal productivity of a labor. MPL is equal to APL dot B1. Marginal productivity of the capital. The partial derivation delta product upon delta K. जसे इथं आपण change into labor with the change in the production, due to change in the labor what is the change in production consider केलं मुलांनो. सेम तसंच इथं तुम्हाला what is the change in capital and now what is the change in production. Means if you are increasing the capital investment by 10%, then what will be the impact on production is showing by the marginal productivity of capital. The partial derivatives of the delta P upon delta K is the rate of change in the production with respect to the capital is called as marginal productivity of a capital. MPK is the marginal product of capital is equal to average product of capital into B2. B is nothing but the positive constant. Next is given the slide regarding marginal rate of technical substitute. Do you remember what is the meaning of MRTS? If you learn the isoquant concept clearly, then you can easily find out what is the MRTS. MRTS is the marginal rate of substitute, and due to that your isoquant is downward from left to right. It is the amount by which the quantity of input has been reduced when the one extra unit of another unit it can be used and the output remains the constant. Means here they want to say that in the amount at which the quantity of input has been reduced when the one extra unit of the another input is used, then the output remains कॉन्स्टंट. म्हणजे बऱ्याच वेळेस असं होतं की तुम्ही एक्स्ट्राची वस्तू वापरून सुद्धा तुमचं प्रोडक्शन तिथं कॉन्स्टंटच राहतं, त्याला आपण मार्जिनल रेट ऑफ टेक्निकल सबस्टिट्यूट असं म्हणतोय. सो फॉर्म्युला इज गिवन MRTS इज इक्वल टू MPL अपॉन MPK. MPL इज द मार्जिनल प्रोडक्ट ऑफ लेबर डिवायडेड बाय MPK. MPK इज द मार्जिनल प्रोडक्ट ऑफ capital. So the explanation is given B1 upon B2 into K upon L. These are the some equations are given. First equation we studied about the production function. Then we studied about the marginal productivity of a labor. Then we study about the marginal productivity of a capital. So some examples are changed. Equations are changed here. Now the elasticity of the factor substitution. Factor substitution in the sense with the help of Cobb Douglas production function, you can easily find out what is the elasticity of the substitute. Percentage change in K upon L or the percentage change in MRTS. The sigma will equal to the 1. This function is perfectly substitutable functions. लक्षात घ्या. म्हणजे इथं sigma will be equal. So the function is the perfectly suitable function. Factor intensity, we can know whether the production is taking the place in the lower labor intensity and the capital intensity. With the help of that equation, with the help of that analysis, you can came to the conclusion what is the active input in your production. Mind it, म्हणजे with the help of production function तुम्ही माझ्या प्रोडक्शन मध्ये सगळ्यात ॲक्टिव्ह रोल कोणाचा आहे, मग तो लेबरचा आहे, मग तो एनर्जीचा आहे, मग तो कॅपिटलचा आहे, हे तुम्हाला फाइंड आउट करता येते. इट कॅन बी डिटरमाइंड बाय द रेशो ऑफ कोएफिशिएंट constant of the labor to the coefficient of the constant of a capital. Means B1 upon B2 is if it is greater than 1 then the labor intensive and the vice versa. म्हणजे कॉब डग्लस प्रोडक्शन फंक्शननं ते एका कन्क्ल्युजनपर्यंत पोहोचलेले आहेत की बाबा कोणत्या कंपनीमध्ये लेबरचा रोल ॲक्टिव्ह असतो आणि कोणत्या कंपनीमध्ये कॅपिटलचा रोल ॲक्टिव्ह असतो. तर तो मुद्दा तिथं त्यांनी दिलेला आहे. इफ B1 and B2 then the labor intensive and its vice versa. हा मुद्दा तिथं दिलेला आहे. नेक्स्ट इज रिटर्न टू स्केल. Refer to the technical property of the production that examine the change in output subsequent to the proportion change in all the inputs, whereas input is increased by the constant factor. If the output increase by the same proportion change, there are the constant return to scale, that is CRTS. Sometimes it refers to the simply as a return to scale. If the output increase by less than the proportionate change in decreasing the return to scale. If the output increase more than proportion then increasing return to scale. म्हणजे बेसिक इथं आहे की तुम्ही इनपुट वाढवल्यानंतर जर तुमचे आउटपुट वाढत असतील तर त्याला तुम्ही इन्क्रीजिंग रिटर्न्स म्हणताय. आणि बऱ्याच केसेसमध्ये असं होतं की इफ यू आर इन्क्रीजिंग इनपुट स्टील युअर आउटपुट इज डिक्रीजिंग, तर त्याला आपण DRS दॅट इज डिमिनिशिंग रिटर्न्स असं म्हणतोय. पण वरती त्यांनी काय दिलंय बघा की रेफर्स टू द टेक्निकल प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन दॅट एक्झामिन द चेंज ऑफ द आउटपुट सबसिक्वेंट द प्रपोर्शन चेंज इन ऑल द इनपुट, वेअर इफ द आउटपुट इज इन्क्रीजेस बाय द सेम प्रपोर्शन ऑफ चेंज इन देअर कॉन्स्टंट रिटर्न टू स्केल. म्हणजे आउटपुट वाढतंय पण इन अ सेम प्रपोर्शन ऑफ द इनपुट्स, तर त्याला कॉन्स्टंट रिटर्न टू स्केल म्हणतात. असे 3 लक्षात घ्यायचे आहेत. व्हेन युअर आउटपुट इज इन्क्रीजेस इन मोर प्रपोर्शन दॅन इनपुट देन इट इज इन्क्रीजिंग रिटर्न्स. व्हेन युअर आउटपुट इन्क्रीजेस बट सेम प्रपोर्शन ऑफ इनपुट, त्याला कॉन्स्टंट रिटर्न म्हणणार आहे. आणि इफ युअर आउटपुट इज डिक्रीजेस इवन युअर इनपुट इज इन्क्रीजेस देन इट कॉल्ड ॲज डिमिनिशिंग returns, right? Next we are talking about efficiency of production. When the two firms are doing the production with the same unit of the capital, labor, raw material and everything, but there is the difference in the output production, this occur due to difference in efficiency in the uses of the labor and capital. B is the coefficient constant of the production in the equation. B हा आपण पॉझिटिव्ह कॉन्स्टंटच मानतोय. परंतु when the two firms are doing the production in the same unit of the capital, labor, raw material and everything, but there is a difference in output production, this occur due to difference in efficiency uses of labor and capital. आता इथं त्यांनी एक उदाहरण दिलेलं आहे की जिथं त्यांनी प्रोडक्ट, लेबर अँड कॅपिटलचं एक इक्वेशन दिलेलं आहे. प्रोडक्शन आहे 100. दिस सेक्शन इज डेमॉन्स्ट्रेट द युजेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन फॉर्म्युला इन 1889 to 1920. प्रोडक्शन, लेबरचं जे काही कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे, कॅपिटलचं जे काही कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे ते तिथं त्यांनी दिलेलं आहे. व्हेन यू सी द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, द कॉब अँड डगलस यूज दिस मेथड टू द लीस्ट स्क्वेअर to fit the data table 1 in the function PLK is equal to 1.01 into L raised to 0.75 and K raised to 0.25. हिअर थोडंसं त्यांनी काय वापरलेलं आहे तर लीस्ट स्क्वेअर मेथड काढलेली आहे. लीस्ट स्क्वेअर मेथडने त्यांनी तिथलं प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन हे दाखवलेलं आहे. जस्ट इक्वेशन यू हॅव टू रिमेंबर. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द कॉब डगलस प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन. दॅट क्वेश्चन इज व्हेरी मच इम्पॉर्टंट रिगार्डिंग शॉर्ट नोट, वेअर जस्ट यू हॅव टू कम टू द कन्क्ल्यूजन दॅट द कॉब अँड डगलस studied about the manufacturing company of the USA and they came to the conclusion that the role of लेबर इज ग्रेटर दॅन रोल ऑफ कॅपिटल. त्यांचं जे काही कन्क्ल्युजन आलं ना मुलांना त्यामध्ये, तर शेअर ऑफ लेबर इन द प्रोडक्शन इज द 3/4 ऑफ द टोटल प्रोडक्शन अँड कॅपिटल हॅविंग ओनली 1/4 शेअर. म्हणजे इथं आपल्याला असं वाटतं कधी कधी की अमेरिका इज द टेक्निकल किंवा आपण म्हणूया की टेक्नॉलॉजिकल बेस्ट कंट्री ऑर द प्रोडक्शन technique is depend upon the modern you can say the equipments and all, but still the role of labor is very active in the manufacturing company. On the other hand, the role of capital is very less, is just a 1/4. This is all about the Cobb Douglas production function. That also will be asked for the fill in the blanks. What is the share of labor in the cost in the Cobb Douglas production function, and it is the 3/4 of the total output, and what is the role of कॅपिटल इन द टोटल प्रोडक्शन इज द 1/4. कधी कधी आपलं मिसकन्सेप्शन इथं दिसतं की टेक्नॉलॉजिकल बेस्ट कंट्री आहे म्हटलं टेक्नॉलॉजीचा किंवा कॅपिटल इंटेन्सिव्ह टेक्निक वापरतात म्हटलं कॅपिटलचा शेअर जास्त राहील, तर प्रत्येक वेळेस असं काही नसतं. आपल्याला तिथं लेबरचा रोल हा ॲक्टिव्ह दिसतोय. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द कॉब डगलस प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन. रीड इट केअरफुली, नोट डाऊन द नोट्स अँड acquire the knowledge regarding it, because it is very much important whenever you are engaged into the production activity. The Cobb Douglas production function is very much useful for them. Thank you so much.